The ground was wet, but it wasn't water. It was blood thick and dark, covering the broken earth. Fires burned in the distance. Smoke rose into the red sky like ghosts reaching for escape. Metal limbs, shattered helmets, and burned flags lay scattered. This was not a battlefield anymore. It was a grave dot, and yet one figure stood. He was tall for a human. Not because of his body, but because he was still breathing. His uniform was torn. One arm hung limp. Blood ran from a cut near his. He had no helmet. His gun was gone. But his eyes were clear. Focused. His name was Jason Viaran, and he was the last human standing on the planet called VOKAR-7. Across the field, the alien commander watched him. The commander's name was Kor Vezak, a warrior of the Kari Dominion. His armor was gold and black, shining in the red light. Behind him stood his guards, each holding plasma rifles, each watching Jason carefully. Vezak stepped forward. He did not speak at first. He simply looked at the broken battlefield. Thousands of humans had landed that morning. None survived the storm of weapons, drones, and skyfire that followed. None, except this one. Jason stood with his feet planted, chest rising and falling. He made no move to run. He had nowhere to go. Commander Vezak finally spoke. "You are the last, the only one." His voice was deep and cruel. "Why do you still stand? Why not beg, crawl, or cry?" Jason blinked slowly. Blood dripped from his nose. But his voice was steady. "Because fear is a choice," he said. "And I don't choose it." Vezak's head tilted. "You are facing death. Alone, surrounded, and yet you speak of choice?" Jason nodded. The wind blew across the field, carrying the smell of fire, metal, and death. Then Vezak asked the question, "Aren't you afraid, human?" Jason looked up at the red sky. His lips curled into a tired smile. "I was born on a burning earth," he said quietly. "Fear was our air." The guards around Vezak shifted. One of them stepped forward. "Commander, shall we take him?" "Execute him." Vezak raised a hand to stop the guard. His eyes were still on Jason. "No, not yet." He turned back to the human. "Your kind is strange, weak in body, slow to adapt. But your minds do not break so easily." Jason said nothing. Vezak pointed at the field. "All your brothers and sisters lie dead. You fight like beasts, without reason, without a future." Still, Jason didn't speak. "Do you know what we will do next?" Vezak continued. "We will glass your colonies, burn your soil, turn your cities to ash." Jason raised his eyes. "Then we'll return from the ash." "Why do you fight when you know it's over?" Jason gave a short, cold laugh. "Because we're not fighting to win. Not yet. We're fighting so you remember what it cost." Vezak narrowed his eyes. "You think this will be remembered? One soldier standing?" Jason nodded again. "One was enough on Earth once." The silence between them stretched. The only sound was the crackle of flames and the soft wind. Then Vezak gave a sharp command. "Take him alive." The guards moved quickly. Jason didn't resist. He could barely stand, but his eyes never lost focus. They bound his arms. His legs shook, but he walked on his own. No words, no screams. Just silence. Hours later, inside the command tower, Jason sat in a cold metal chair. His hands were chained to the floor. A bright light shone down on his face. Across from him stood a team of alien officers, scientists, strategists, and Vezak. Screen showed footage of Jason's unit landing on Vokar 7. It showed their fast, aggressive attack. It also showed them dying, every last one. "You were meant to lose," a gray-skinned alien scientist said. "Why send humans into a battle they couldn't win?" Jason looked up. "To see how much damage we could do while losing." Vezak stepped closer. "You are not a strategist. You are a soldier." "Not anymore," Jason replied. Earth changed the day we stopped calling ourselves that. You don't fear death, do you? Another alien asked. Jason shook his head slowly. No, but I remember it. I've seen it up close. They leaned in. Jason's voice was soft but steady. On Earth, cities fell from the sky. Oceans boiled. Families turned on each other for a glass of water. I was 7 when I first killed a man. I didn't know his name. The room went silent. Jason looked up at them. You think this war will scare us? You're thousands of years too late. Vizak's voice was low. You were designed for war. No, Jason said, smiling. Slightly. We were designed by war. Flashback, Earth. Years ago the sky over Earth was orange with smoke. Buildings burned. Sirens screamed. In the middle of a ruined street, a small boy stood beside a body, his father. He held a metal rod in his hand, shaking, breathing fast. Behind him, 2 other children cried in fear. The boy turned to face 3 raiders who were trying to take what little food they had. He didn't speak. He just ran at them. Back to present. The aliens watched Jason's eyes. One of them whispered, "He doesn't feel like prey." "Because I'm not," Jason said. "You thought we were soft because we smiled, because we laughed, but we did that to survive. We made jokes in the dark so the dark wouldn't win. Then what are you?" Vizak asked. Jason leaned forward, chains clinking. "We're the storm that pretends to be the breeze." Later that night, the holding cell. Jason sat alone in a small cell. No light, no sound. A voice spoke through the wall. It was a young alien guard, curious. "Why don't you cry? You've lost everything." Jason didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because I've lost everything before." The guard was quiet. Jason looked up at the tiny window above. A star blinked. "Fear is like hunger. You learn to live with it. But if you feed it, it grows. I starved mine long ago." Scene change. Galactic broadcast room. Later, Vizak gave a speech to the Galactic Command. "This human is dangerous. Not because of weapons, but because of what he represents." The council asked, "And what is that?" Vizak answered, "The end of fear." Final scene. Back on the battlefield, day before the battle began, Jason had spoken to his squad. There were 30 of them, young, tough, smart. Most of them were gone now, but their words stayed with him. "If one of us is left standing," his captain had said, "make sure they remember why." As Jason sat in the cold cell, tired and bloody, a small smile appeared on his face. The aliens had asked, "Aren't you afraid?" He had answered with truth, not a scream, not a prayer, not a curse, just a quiet human truth. "I was born on a burning Earth." The prison ship moved silently through deep space. Inside it, behind 7 sealed doors, Jason Vion sat alone. No one spoke to him. No one fed him. He didn't ask for water. He didn't ask for mercy. He just sat, eyes open, silent, like he was waiting for something the galaxy couldn't understand. The guards called him the last survivor. Some called him the cold one. One whispered that he was a shadow wrapped in skin. But no one called him afraid. Hook. The trial begins. The trial chamber was built on Vezruth Prime, the heart of the Galactic Empire. Thousands of alien eyes watched from floating seats. Cameras sent the live feed to millions of planets. Most were curious. Some were angry. A few were afraid. This human, this Jason Viaran, had been captured during a brutal human assault that killed nearly 10,000 soldiers in 40 minutes. Now he was to be judged. "Bring in the human," a voice echoed. Jason walked in, arms chained. 2 guards behind him. He looked up at the tall chamber, the lights, the strange alien faces staring down. He didn't bow. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. A red-skinned judge, tall and thin, stood. "You are Jason Viaran, a soldier of Earth?" Jason's voice was calm. "I am human." The judge frowned. "Not a soldier?" Jason's eyes were cold. We're not soldiers anymore. We're survivors with guns. Murmurs filled the room. Charges the judge raised a clawed hand. You stand accused of leading a slaughter on Voker 7, spreading fear among Allied troops, refusing surrender when surrounded, displaying mental corruption beyond known limits. Jason said nothing. A blue-furred alien officer pointed at him. Your people do not follow rules. You land in waves. You do not retreat, even when burning. You crawl forward. Jason tilted his head. We never had rules. Earth was chaos. We survived by becoming chaos. Another alien, this one a tall insect-like being, leaned in. But why fight when you knew you couldn't win? Jason looked straight at her. To teach you how much your peace is worth. The memories that hurt to hear. The trial continued for hours. They played clips of battles, human soldiers laughing while charging into death, screaming battle songs, dragging wounded enemies to safety, only to return and fight again. One alien officer turned pale. You're not afraid of death. Why? Jason gave a strange answer. We stopped seeing death as the end. On Earth, dying was just the price of keeping others alive. That was the deal. We learned to pay it with a smile. You're mad, one judge whispered. Jason shrugged. No, just trained by fire. Flashback. The Earth that made him Jason stood in a quiet alley. It was night. The buildings were broken. Rain fell, but it was black and oily. He was 16, holding a knife. Behind him, a group of children shivered. In front of him, 2 grown men with guns blocked their path. He didn't run. He didn't speak. He attacked. No hesitation, no thought. Just movement. He didn't fight to win. He fought so the children could run. Back to present. You were shaped by violence. One alien sighed. We thought your people were weak because you lived in broken cities. Jason's voice was low. Our cities broke because no one helped us, so we built ourselves. The council sat in silence. Then came the psychologist, a large-eyed alien who had studied over 100 species. She stepped forward. You suffer from trauma, deep emotional damage, but you smile. That is confusing. Jason stared at her. Smiling is how we tell the pain it didn't win. The test of fear. The council wanted proof. So they activated a fear simulator, a machine that created perfect illusions of a being's worst nightmares. Jason was strapped in. The room went dark. Everyone waited. After 10 minutes, nothing happened. Why is it not working? Someone asked. The technician replied nervously. It is working. But he ... He's not reacting. The psychologist looked confused. Show us the feed. The screen showed fire, screams, Earth during its final collapse. Jason stood in the middle, calm. Then they saw the real nightmare, his younger self, walking through the ruins, carrying a dead child. Is that ... a memory? Someone whispered. Jason opened his eyes in the machine. That's the day I stopped crying. The verdict they didn't expect. The judge rose. We find Jason VRing guilty of war crimes, emotional terrorism, and planetary disruption. Jason said nothing. The judge continued, but also guilty of something else. Of surviving what no one else could. Of showing us the cost of our comfort. 1. Alien General stood. This human, he is not just a threat. He is a message. A message from whom? The council asked. Jason raised his head. From Earth. And what is that message? He smiled, just a little. We remember everything. The secret conversation that night. While Jason sat chained in his cell, a high-ranking alien entered. Quietly, he wore a dark robe. His name was Crowder, and he was part of the secret inner circle of the Galactic Empire. You're not here to judge me, Jason said without looking. No, Crowder replied. I'm here to understand what's coming. Jason looked up. It's already here. You just haven't seen it yet. Crowder asked, was this your mission? To be caught? Jason nodded. I'm not the weapon, I'm the warning shot. Then, what is the weapon? Jason's smile was soft, almost sad. It's what fear turns into when you bury it for too long. Closing scene, across the galaxy, in secret rooms across 100 planets, alien leaders watched Jason's trial. Some laughed. Some were confused, but a few felt cold. Because when the humans said he was the warning, they believed him. And they remembered something the galaxy had long forgotten. Humans do not run. They endure. And when they rise, they don't rise alone. Final lines in the dark of his cell. Jason closed his eyes and whispered one sentence to himself. They asked if I was afraid. Then he smiled. They should have asked if they were ready. The room was cold and bright. The walls were white metal. The floor was smooth. It looked clean, safe, but something inside it felt wrong. Jason Villarin sat in the center of the room, arms and legs strapped to a steel chair. 5 alien scientists stood around him. Each one wore a clear mask. Each one held a scanner. A cable ran from Jason's temple to a glowing blue machine behind him. We've never studied a human mind directly, one scientist said. Be careful, another warned. This one doesn't behave like the others. A third one laughed. He's just a soldier. They all break. Jason looked up at them and smiled. You're not ready, he said softly. The lead scientist leaned forward. Ready for what? Jason's voice didn't change. For the part of me that's already broken. The machine powered up. The lights flickered. Then the screaming began. The lab's mission. The facility was deep underground, hidden under the Empire's largest moon. It was called Varn Station, a top-secret research lab where the minds of captured enemies were studied and broken. They had torn open the thoughts of rebels, criminals, even a god species once. None had ever resisted for long. Jason Villarin, however, was different. He had been sent after his trial to uncover what made human fear so strange. Why didn't he break? Why didn't he beg? The scientists were sure they would find the answer inside his brain. They had no idea what they were opening. Entering the human mind, the psychic scanner began its work. It entered Jason's memory pathways. It searched for his fears, his nightmares, his weakness. What it found instead was a graveyard, burning buildings, starving children, screams echoing over ruined streets, human soldiers singing as they walked through radioactive rain. The lead psychic gasped. He was raised in this? Another shook her head. No. This is a memory. This happened. Jason's voice came through the machine, quiet but clear. Still think I'm just a soldier? The first collapsed. The psychic screen lit up with a memory. Earth. 20 years ago. Jason was just a child, standing beside his dying mother. They were in a crowded train tunnel with hundreds of others, hiding from war drones above. The mother whispered, "Don't cry. If they hear you, they'll kill us." Jason stayed silent. Tears ran down his face, but he didn't make a sound. Then, the drones came anyway. Flames poured in through the tunnel opening. The screen flickered. One scientist collapsed, screaming. Back in the room, the lead scientist turned pale. "He's feeding us memories of pain." "No," said another. "He's not feeding them. He's reliving them." Jason's face twitched slightly. A tear ran down his cheek, but not from fear, from rage. "Your machine reads minds," he said, "but minds are shaped by what we live." He looked straight into the eyes of the lead scientist. "You're watching my training." System overload. The machine began to spark. Alarms rang. One alien screamed and tore off his helmet. "I saw it. I saw him alone. He was 12. He killed 3 people with a pipe." Jason nodded. "They came for my sister." The others backed away. One grabbed a cum. "We need backup. He's not safe for mental study." But it was too late. Jason's memories poured out like a flood. Fire, war, hunger, betrayal, and always Jason. Surviving. Flashback. The farmhouse one. Memory was stronger than the others. Jason, 17 years old. In a burned-out farmhouse. Night. A gang of raiders had taken a family hostage. Jason waited outside, alone. No backup, no plan. Just a rusted blade and a flashlight. He entered quietly. One by one, he took them down. At the end, he untied the family. Who sent you? The father asked. Jason just said, no one. I just heard. Screaming. Back to the present. Lab collapsed. The machine exploded in sparks. 3 scientists fell unconscious. One began laughing uncontrollably. The last one crawled toward the door, eyes wide. Jason stared at her. You tried to see what? Scares me, he whispered. You should have looked at what I scare. Vezek arrives. Commander Vezek arrived minutes later. He stepped into the lab, saw the damage, the smoke, the twitching bodies. What happened? He demanded. The surviving scientist couldn't look him in the eye. We opened him, she sighed, shaking. We thought he had one mind, he has many. Vezek looked at Jason, still strapped in the chair, calm, still, watching. You're not like the others. Jason didn't smile this time. He just said, I was made by the world. You ignored. Interrogation, round 2. Vezek had Jason brought to a private cell. No chains this time, just silence, 1 table. 2 chairs. They sat across from each other. I should kill you, Vezek said. Jason raised 1 eyebrow. You should. But you won't. Why not? Because you're scared. Vezek slammed his fist on the table. We conquered 20 worlds before Earth showed up. Jason leaned forward. You conquered peace. Not pain. That's why your soldiers cry when they see ours laugh during battle. Vezek said nothing. Jason continued. We die differently. That's what scares you. Galactic reaction across the Empire. Whispers began. Jason's story spread in secret. Soldiers talked about the human who didn't scream. Some called him a ghost. Others called him the truth the galaxy didn't want to face. On backwater planets, posters appeared. They thought fear would break us. We turned it into a weapon. Final scene, a quiet warning before Vezek left. He asked Jason one last question. What should we expect from the next human attack? Jason looked up. Not soldiers, not fleets. Then what? Jason's voice dropped. Reminders. As Vezek walked out of the room, he noticed something chilling on the table. Where Jason had sat, carved into the surface with a shard of metal, were 6 words. You opened the door too wide. The guards stood outside the cell door, silent and nervous. No one spoke, no one blinked. Inside the room was Jason VRN, chained, calm and dangerous without moving a muscle. Then footsteps echoed. The guards stepped back quickly. A tall alien in black armor walked up. His eyes were cold. His presence was heavy. His name was General Threx Volkar, and he was feared across 4 galaxies. He had broken warlords, crushed rebellions, and silenced worlds. He smiled. Leave us, he ordered. The guards hesitated. I said, leave us. The general repeated. The door closed behind him. Inside, Jason didn't move. His chains hung loose. His eyes were half open, tired. Threx sat down across from him and leaned in. I've seen monsters. Beasts with fire for blood. Empires that fed on their own people. But you human, you're different. Jason didn't answer. The general tilted his head. They say you don't fear anything. Jason finally spoke. They say a lot. Threx chuckled. I've broken men stronger than you. Shall we begin? Jason looked up slowly. You already have. The general's game begins. Threx had one goal. Break Jason VRN. Not with pain. Not with machines. But with words. He asked about Earth. About Jason's past. About loss. Tell me, human, he said. How many people have you watched die? Jason stared at him. I stopped counting after 1. Threx leaned forward. Was it your mother? Father? A friend? Jason said nothing. You hold it all in, Threx said. That's your weakness. I'll find the crack. Jason smiled. You're the one cracking. Psychological pressure. Threx tried everything. He showed Jason photos of Earth's ruined cities. Played screams from past battles. Used holograms to simulate the death of Jason's old squad. But Jason didn't flinch. Live through the real thing, he said. You're just showing me memories. You think pain makes you strong? Threx asked. No, Jason replied. But survival makes pain useful. Flashback. The night Jason stopped crying, Jason sat beside his brother's body. They had been hiding in a basement. A fire had started. The exit was blocked. His brother had suffocated trying to clear a path. Jason had pulled him free too late. He held his brother for hours. Then he stood and walked into the fire alone. Back in the present. The first crack. Threx began sweating. He tried again. Your people are weak, poor, filthy deathworlders. You'll be extinct soon. Jason blinked slowly. That's what we said about ourselves a long time ago. The room fell quiet. Threx stood up, pacing. You're not normal, he muttered. Jason leaned forward, voice soft. You came to break me, General, but you're not afraid of me. Threx froze. Jason continued. You're afraid of what I remind you, which is, Threx whispered. Jason's reply cut deep. That you once had fear too. But you buried it. I wear mine like armor. The hour that broke the breaker time passed. The guards outside checked their watches. It had been over 3 hours. No sound came from the cell. Then, a soft clang. The door opened. They turned, expecting Jason dragged out unconscious. But it wasn't. Jason. It was General Threx. He stumbled into the hallway, eyes red, breathing fast. His hands shook. He leaned against the wall like he had seen something terrible. Is the human still alive? One guard asked. Threx nodded, slowly. He didn't move, he just talked. Then why are you? The guard stopped mid-sentence. Threx looked at him. Because I asked him who he feared. And Threx's voice was hollow. He said himself. Inside the cell, Jason sat alone. Still chained. Still quiet, but smiling. Just slightly. Because even monsters can bleed. Alien command response the next day. News spread fast. General Threx Volkar, the one who broke minds with a glance, had walked out shaken, silent, and refused to speak since. The Empire tried to cover it up, but soldiers talk. Whispers spread. The human broke him. Without touching him. Interview with the Council back at Galactic HQ. High-ranking officials demanded an explanation. Vizak spoke. He didn't break Threx with words. He broke him with truth. Truth? A council member asked. Yes, Vezek said. Jason Viaran reminded the general of something we all forget, which is that pain, when carried long enough, becomes strength, but fear, when buried too long, becomes poison. Jason's quiet reflection that night. Jason stared up at the small light on the ceiling. His chains clinked as he shifted. He remembered Threx's last words. Why don't you fear yourself? Jason had smiled because I already lost everything. I'm just what was left. Flashback. The dark room. A younger Jason, maybe 15, sat in a room filled with silence. His team had been killed. His home was gone. His leg was broken, but he waited, a weapon in his lap. Eyes wide open, waiting not for help, but for the enemy. They didn't come. He walked out alone. Final scene. Across the stars on hundreds of alien ships. Commanders now watched footage of Jason's case. His still face, his silence, his strength. Some called him a threat, some called him insane. But the smart ones? They started asking the new question. If that's just one human, what happens when the others arrive? The prisoner transport ship. flew through black space, silent and cold. 4 guards stood around the chained human. Their weapons were aimed at his head. Every few seconds, one of them checked to make sure he was still breathing. Jason Vian looked calm. Too calm. One guard leaned in, sneering. Execution in 9 hours. Any last thoughts, human? Jason didn't answer. Another guard laughed. He's probably thinking about his gods. Jason turned his head slightly. I don't have gods, he said. The guard rolled his eyes. Then what are you thinking about? Jason's voice was quiet, but sharp. This isn't an execution transport. The guards blinked. What? Jason leaned forward. It's a rescue mission. You just don't know it yet. Then the ship shook. A siren screamed. And all the lights turned red. The trap springs on the bridge, the pilot shouted. Multiple unknown vessels just appeared, 300 meters off port. Are they Empire ships? An officer asked. No. They're unmarked, fast, coming straight at us. Then one of the ships vanished. Teleport. Jump. And it reappeared inside the hull. It didn't dock. It punched through. Flashback. Earth's secret orders back on Earth. Months before Jason's mission began, a blackroom meeting had taken place. A gray-haired commander gave Jason a simple task. You'll let them take you. You'll survive the trial. You'll get sent to the core. Jason raised an eyebrow. And after that? The commander smiled coldly. After that, your job is to open the door. The team will handle the rest. Back to the present. Breach the transport's wall, exploded inward. Smoke filled the hallway. Guards screamed. Through the hole came 6 figures, small, fast, and silent. Each wore black armor with no symbols. Their rifles made no sound. Only flashes, one by one. Dropped. Jason stood calmly in the middle of it all. A woman in dark armor walked up to him. Agent VRN. She said, Extraction window, 7 minutes. Jason nodded. Late. She smirked. You're welcome. The escape begins. They moved fast. The Black Ops team secured the halls. Jason walked with them, still chained. Cut him loose, the leader said. No. Jason replied. Leave them on. Why? Jason looked back at the fallen guards. I want the next ones to wonder how I fought with chains on. Alien response. Confusion and fear from a nearby Empire command center. Alarms rang. What do you mean the human transport was attacked? Vazak shouted. The officer trembled. Sir, the attackers, they didn't use Empire codes. They knew our weak points. It was surgical. Who helped them? The officer hesitated. That's the thing, sir. We think no one helped them. They came from deep space. From nowhere. Vazak's face turned pale. Then the human. He wasn't caught. No, sir, the officer said. He let us catch him. Flashback, the message sent inside his cell, days before his escape. Jason had tapped his knuckles against the wall in a strange rhythm. 5 short taps, 3 long ones. Then again, the rhythm was a trigger code. A message. It reached a drone parked in a hidden Empire hangar. That drone whispered across the stars. Earth answered. Mid-escape, the reactor tricked Jason, and the team reached the engine room. Should we blow the ship? One asked. Jason shook his head. No, leave it, but change the signature. He walked to the core and inserted a chip. What's that do? The team leader asked. Jason smiled. Makes the Empire think the explosion came from inside. Mechanical error, not enemy action. Why? Jason looked at her. Because fear spreads better when the target doesn't know where to aim. The ship breaks apart with all systems failing. The transport began to rip itself in half. Jason's team jumped into their stealth ship and vanished into the black. 3 minutes later, the transport exploded. The official report from Empire High Command. Read, cause internal reactor surge. Prisoner lost. No enemy evidence recovered. And somewhere deep in a hidden archive, Jason Viren was marked, presumed dead. But he wasn't. Jason sat in the dark cabin of the stealth ship. He looked out at the stars. The team leader poured him water. "You okay?" Jason nodded. "I did my part. And now?" she asked. Jason replied, "Now we go to Phase 2. Flashback, Earth's last warning. Back on Earth, in a room with no name, a young soldier had asked the commander, "Why send Jason?" The commander replied, "Because Jason isn't a fighter. He's a mirror. He shows them what they are. And what they fear they'll become." Final scene, across the galaxy, in secret war rooms, alien officers tried to explain what happened. Some believed the ship failed by accident. Some blamed sabotage. Only a few guessed the truth. Jason Vere was never a prisoner. He was bait. And the trap had been perfect. Last line as the stealth ship drifted past an asteroid field. Jason finally spoke. "They asked if I was afraid of death." He smiled faintly. "I was never there to die. I was there so they'd wish I had." The planet was called Zereth 9. Cold. Cracked. Abandoned. No animals. No cities. Just silence. Once, it had been home to millions. Now, it was known by another name. The Grave Moon. Empire soldiers refused to land there. Machines stopped working. People went missing. It wasn't haunted. It was worse. But today, a small black ship appeared in orbit. It didn't broadcast a name. It didn't ask for permission. It simply landed. Inside that ship was Jason VRN. And he came here for a reason. Because Zereth 9 was where fear died. And something else took its place. The team lands. The ship's ramp dropped. Jason stepped out. First, no armor, just dark clothes, boots, and a gray scarf. His eyes scanned the cracked surface. A thin mist moved along the ground. Behind him came his Team 6 elite operatives. "Why here?" one asked. Jason didn't answer at first. Then he said, "This place is where the first humans lost their fear. And became something the galaxy never wanted to meet again." The Empire watches high above. Hidden satellites tracked the ship. At Galactic Command, alarms flashed. "Sir, we found him," an officer called out. "The human has landed on Zereth 9. Vizek stepped closer to the screen. "Why there?" No one answered. Because no one goes to Zereth H-9. Not anymore. The history they buried long ago. During the first human war, a group of Earth soldiers had crash-landed on Zereth 9 during a retreat. Trapped, surrounded, cut off. Empire never sent help. So the humans dug in. And for 60 days, they fought with bare hands, sharpened scrap, and raw will. When the Empire finally returned to clear the remains, they found something they couldn't explain. Alien bodies skinned, weapon racks, made from bones. And one human still alive. He didn't speak. He just smiled. Back to the present. Jason stood in the middle of an ancient trench. His hand touched a burned helmet half buried in the dirt. "This is where they learned the truth," he whispered. "What truth?" a teammate asked. Jason replied, "That fear is a leash, but if you break it, you don't run anymore. You hunt." The trap begins. Unknown to Jason's team, a small Empire death squad had followed their trail. They landed far from the ship and moved through the ruins quietly. "This is where they went mad," one whispered. "No," another replied. "This is where they became monsters." They didn't know Jason had already spotted them. He wasn't hiding, he was waiting. Flashback, Jason's past mission years ago. Jason had been dropped behind enemy lines. No coms, no allies. Just him and a knife. For 10 days they searched for him. They found only empty camps, marked walls, disappearing rations. On the 11th day, they stopped searching. Because the ones searching were the ones being hunted. The hunt on Zereth 9. Night fell. Mist rose. Jason moved like a shadow. His teammates disappeared into the fog. The death squad walked slower now. Their weapons trembled. One by one, they vanished. Pulled into the dark. No gunfire. No screams. Just silence. Then whispers. He's not behind us. He's inside the fear. The last one left. The final soldier ran. He tripped, crawled, begged. He fell to his knees, panting. Then he saw Boots. Jason stood over him. No weapon. Just his eyes. Why? The soldier cried. Why do you do this? Jason knelt beside him. Because fear is your weapon, he whispered. And I stole it from you. Then Jason walked away. He didn't kill him. He didn't need to. The message left behind when Vezek's ships arrived hours later. They found the Death Squad's dropship empty. No bodies. Just one message, carved into the hull with a blade. We waited in the dark. Now the dark waits for you. Jason's real mission. His team regrouped. A teammate asked, Why did we come here really? It wasn't for history, was it? Jason nodded. No. He pulled a small data cube from his coat. This place hides something deep underground. Old tech, human-made, dangerous. What is it? Jason looked toward the ruins. A gift from the past. Back at Galactic Command, they reviewed the message on the dropship. One admiral whispered, We thought they feared death. Vezek stood, silent, his eyes cold. No, he said. They fear nothing now. Final scene. Deep below the planet, Jason walked through a long, dark tunnel deep under ZERETH-9. At the end stood a black vault door. He placed his hand on it. The lock clicked. Open. Behind the door, blue lights lit up. Machines hummed. Stasis pods opened. Inside them, old Earth weapons. And something else. Humans in cryosleep. Last line, Jason whispered. They buried monsters here. He smiled. Now we dig them back up. The room was silent. Cold air hissed from long metal tubes. Blue lights flickered. Dust danced in the dark. Jason Viren stood still, staring at the rows of stasis pods lined against the walls. His breath fogged in the freezing air. Then one pod blinked green. A hiss. A crack. The glass split. Human hand reached out. Thin, pale, covered in scars. Jason whispered, They're waking up. His team watched from behind, wide-eyed. Who are they? One asked. Jason didn't blink. War children, he said. Left here by Earth when the galaxy called them too broken to bring home. Another pod cracked open. And inside it, something smiled. But it was not a smile of peace. The forgotten soldiers, 70 years ago, during the First Galactic War, Earth's last Black Ops program, Unit Grey Sun, had been created. These weren't just fighters. They were survivors built through chaos, trauma, and raw instinct. Children trained to move in silence. To kill without blinking. To endure what no adult could. But when the war ended, Earth couldn't bring them back. Too violent. Too unstable. So they were put to sleep, buried deep on Zereth-9, where no one would find them. Until now. Jason's mission becomes clear. The cryosoldiers opened their eyes. Some blinked like animals waking from hibernation. Others didn't move at all. Then one taller than the rest, maybe 20 years old, stepped forward. He looked at Jason. And smiled. Name? He asked in a flat voice. Jason replied, Varen, Jason, Earthborn. Mission code, Emberlight. The young man nodded. Double quotes, Welcome, Emberlight, he said. We remember the fire. Empire reaction, panic mode. The Empire's long-range sensors finally picked up signals from Zereth-9, but it wasn't just Jason's ship anymore. It was activity from under the surface machines, life signs. Systems turning on. One analyst screamed, We have stasis pods opening. Over 60 signals. Vezek leaned forward. Who's waking up? The officer's voice cracked. Humans, sir. But different. Their vitals are unstable. Aggression levels off the charts. Jason speaks to the Grey Suns. Jason stood before the dozen waking soldiers. They didn't salute. They didn't kneel. But they listened. You were left here, Jason said. Forgotten. No one spoke, he continued, but we need you now. The galaxy thinks we're afraid. You know that's not true. A girl with short hair raised her hand slowly. Are we allowed to kill again? She asked softly. Jason looked her in the eye. You're allowed to protect your kind. She smiled. That's the same thing. Flashback, Gray Sun training. A young boy knelt in a burning room. His trainer stood beside him, holding a knife. Take the pain, the trainer sighed. Breathe it in. The boy nodded. Fire burned around them. He did not scream. That boy grew up to be the first commander of Gray Sun. Now they were awake again, and they hadn't forgotten anything. Empire deploys a fleet. We can't let them leave. Zereth 9, Vezek ordered. A full fleet, 3 destroyers and a dreadnought, jumped to hyperspace. Shoot them on sight, he said. But he didn't know Jason had already planned for that. Jason's plan, a trap for giants. Jason turned to his team. We're not escaping. We're pulling them in. The team leader frowned. You want to fight a fleet? No, Jason said. I want them to walk into the same fear we did. He handed the Gray Suns their old weapons, custom blades, short rifles, poison vials, and silent combs. They didn't ask for instructions. They simply began setting traps in the tunnels. Flashback, the last Gray Sun battle. A Gray Sun squad was surrounded by 50 alien elites. They didn't run. They dug into the ground. Then rose at night. Only one alien survived. He didn't speak for the rest of his life. Back to present. The ambush begins. The Empire's ships landed on Zereth-9. Troops poured out heavily armed, ready for war. But no one saw Jason. No one saw the Gray Suns. They saw shadows, heard soft breathing. Then one by one troopers fell. From above. From behind. From below the ground. Screams echoed through the ruins, not of humans, of aliens. Last stand. One Empire general tried to rally the troops. Hold the line, he shouted. They're just humans. A soft voice came from the dark. We're not humans. The general spun around. A Gray Sun girl stood 5 feet behind him. She smiled gently. We're what comes after fear. Then the lights went out. Jason sends a message back on his ship. Jason activated a signal beacon. He didn't send it to Earth. He sent it to the entire galaxy. It was a simple message. The monsters you feared? You made them, and we remember. Galactic broadcast reaction. The message spread in minutes. Planets paused their broadcasts. Leaders stared at the screen. Some called it a threat. Others whispered something worse. What if the humans aren't trying to win anymore? What if they're just trying to make us afraid? Final scene. A soldier's whisper. Jason stood among the ruins, looking out at the stars. Beside him, a Gray Sun boy cleaned the blade. Will they send more ships? He asked. Jason nodded. Double quotes, yes. Good, the boy said. Jason raised an eyebrow. Why good? The boy smiled. Because now we know we're not alone. And now, his eyes darkened. They know it too. It started as static. Then a slow beat. A low, human heartbeat echoing across frequencies. Galactic channels went silent. Then Jason Van's voice spoke through them all. You asked if I was afraid. You thought we feared death. You thought we waited for your permission to rise. You were wrong. The feed cut to black. No symbol. No army flag. Just words, scratched in white across the screen. We're already here. Panic followed. Because the humans hadn't declared war. They had declared presence. The galaxy responds. The Empire tried to spin it. Called Jason a terrorist. Labeled the Gray Suns as ancient experiments gone rogue. But fleets stopped moving. Trade routes shut down. On some planets, soldiers refused to patrol at night. On others, they dug trenches. In peacetime, fear, once buried, had returned, and it wore a human face. Jason's new mission in deep space. On an old Earth stealth cruiser, Jason met with the Gray Suns. They sat around a dark table, no ranks, no uniforms. Just fire in their eyes. Looked at each of them. "You were created to fight a war that ended without you," he said. They nodded. "You were forgotten." They said nothing. Jason continued. "Now we remind them. Not with fleets, not with power. We remind them by existing." Operation Cold Echo. Their first move was quiet, a small listening post on the edge of Empire territory. Vanished. No alarms. Just empty halls, frozen food, warm chairs. Inside one room was a message burned into the wall. "We listened too long. Now we speak." It wasn't destruction. It was reminder. Flashback. Jason's final briefing before leaving Earth. Jason had asked a question to the Black Room commander. Why use ghosts to win a war? The commander had answered, "We're not using them to win. We're using them so the enemy forgets what victory tastes like." Galactic peace begins to break. Several species pulled their diplomats back from the Empire. Small rebellions reignited across border worlds. People, who once feared death, started asking the new question: what would the humans do? Jason visits a planet alone. He landed alone on Chorus V, a mid-core trade planet ruled by the Empire. No guards stopped him. He walked through the capital center square in silence. People stared. He placed a small black box on a statue base. Then walked away. The box opened. It didn't explode. It simply displayed a line of text. "You don't see us coming. You only know we've been here." By morning, the planet declared neutrality. Empire counterattacks and fails one fleet was sent to track the gray suns across 3 systems. They used all they had: drones, scans, psychic tech. They never found the humans. Instead, they found themselves hunted. One ship received a message carved into its airlock. "You don't understand fear. You built it for us. We made it better." Flashback. First Gray Sun training rule: we survive first. We speak second. We don't wait for help. We become it. Jason confronts Vezek, indirectly a secure datapad. Arrived on Vezek's desk. No ID. No signal trail. It opened automatically. Jason's face appeared. Calm as always. "You tried to study us, break us, but what you didn't see was what fear made us into." He leaned forward. "We didn't survive your war." His eyes narrowed. "We became it." The truth spreads. Footage leaked of gray suns rescuing prisoners from deep Empire vaults. People once labeled useless were pulled out of dark cells by silent, young humans with scars and no names. Children in the streets began drawing stars and labeling them. "Here be humans." The myth had become legend. The legend had become truth. Final strategy. The signal chain. Jason activated an ancient human code string long-range hidden relays buried during the First War. One by one, hidden Earth satellites across the galaxy. Powered on. Some on moons, some inside comets. All said the same thing: "We are still here. And now we remember." Final scene. Back on Zerith 9. Jason stood atop a broken bunker on the Grave Moon. The gray sun stood with him. Below them, a fresh message had been burned into the rock using plasma, large enough for satellites to read. "We never needed permission to survive." He looked up at the stars. "They feared our return," he said. A gray sun soldier stepped beside him. "Then why come back?" Jason smiled. "We're not back." He turned. "We never left."